Okay, so we are now really starting to get into the modifiers. That's what the next few chapters are going to be about. The first thing I want to do is I want to just go over some common ones, which are bend, twist, and deform. So basically, the bend modifier. If you go to your modifier list, or in my case I have it over here, but I will just use the modifier list for now. Bend is, it's very basic, you already know what it is about. So where am I? B. Bend over here. There we go. So bend, you set it to an angle, you set it to a axis. Now, for example, I would need probably like the y-axis, and the way that it works inside of 3S Max is that you can set the angle then, and you can set the direction. Right now the direction is going this way. If I set this to 90 degrees, I can flip my bend and I can then turn it, here you can just set also your angle to the minus, and you can very simply bend it like this, very nicely. So just like that you can work with those things. You can use limits. If you select limits, you can say, okay, I only want to have, for example, this side to bend. I just need to set this very high. And you can see that this orange bar, as long as this orange bar is sitting here at like the top, this is like going to be a full bend. And you can then play around with your bend. You can also set like this limit. And you can say, okay, I only want to bend this at like a certain angle like this. So the limits are very basic. Now a very cool thing with the bend is that you can actually change your gizmo. If you change your gizmo of your bend, you can actually move around your bend and you can manipulate it. You can also do this with the center over here. You can change like where the center of your bend is. So you can just choose all of these things. This is very specific for specific use cases. It is often quite handy if you, for example, have, here see, if I, for example, have a limit, I can say, okay, I now just want to bend, and I can simply use my move axis to bend this around. So that's the bend tool. Handy, but powerful. The next one was going to be our, just like some basics ones. So the basics ones are often the twist tool, which will twist, wave tool, which will create waves, taper tool, which will taper things off, stretch tool, which will stretch things out, and we have the, I think like the skew. So if I just very quickly twist, taper, and I will just go over them very quickly. Skew, wave. Let's see, is there any other ones that are very basic that, I don't use many of these very often, but yeah, for now this should be fine. Like, oh yeah, and squeeze. So if I just now simply turn this stuff off, there we go. Okay, so twist. Play around with the angle. You can very simply just like twist your model. See? So you can make it into like candy or whatever. So that is the twist. Same settings are the same as the bend for the rest. Taper. Taper, you can taper things on or off. So you can choose, and you can, for example, this is tapering, so that it goes from small to big. It's very specific, I rarely use it, but you can use it for like some handy things if you ever want to like do like some animations or some weird rotations or something like that. Skew. Our skew is basically that it will, it works better, it goes from here, one side to the other side in like a diamond pattern. So it does something like this where it just skews. I rarely use it, but I just wanted to still show you. Wave is like it says. It will just create a wave, so you can say like, okay, amplitude 1, number 2. Over here you can create a wave. You can set a wavelength. So here you can just make it like dance if you want. Stuff like that. And in all of these tools you can go in and you can like set the centers and the gizmos, and you never know if you want to have like an animation of like something dancing or whatever. So that's a wave. And we have our squeeze, and our squeeze basically can also go up, but is often used to like squeeze things in. Curve, you can set like the roundness of it. Here, it works better if I show you here. See, here the roundness of the squeeze you can use. And the radius of it, and there's so many settings. But as I said before, I rarely use it. I would recommend just to play around with it. So those are the very base modifiers that just manipulate it. The reason that I'm showing this is because inside Blender and Maya, these are also very common. So So yeah, it's like it's familiar. Let me say it like that. So let's continue to the next thing.